Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Writers Podcast. And this time I have with me today guest host, writer, Terrance Niedziela. Hello, Terrance. How you doing?
I'm good, sir. How you doing?
Not too bad. And we're here to talk about your latest book, which is Tales of Aras from your Fire and Lightning series. So what's your elevator pitch for your book?
Tales of Aras, Becoming Fire and Lightning, is the first book in a trilogy, in the Fire and Lightning trilogy. And it's about a brother and sister who are transported to another world. And the brother, Michael, ends up becoming a knight with flaming wings and armor and sword and stuff to battle against the evil Bahrel's legion and rescue captives.
Okay.
And his sister is the Speaker of Reconciliation. Her job is to unify the 7 races of Aras, who all hate each other for various reasons over the last 80,000 years.
Wow.
And so even though she's about to head off to Princeton for international politics and things like that, and she's dabbled some in politics here on Earth, in this other world, she's like, I have no clue. But her mentor is a dragon who is the daughter of the leaders of the Western Dragons. And so she knows all the ins and outs and diplomacy, and so she mentors her. And Michael has his own teacher too, an 8-foot-tall white tiger warrior who's immortal, named Captain Ragnar.
Wow. So there's a lot to cover there, and we'll dive into that. But before we do, for listeners that aren't familiar with your work and view, let's find out a little bit about you. Were you a voracious reader growing up?
Yes. So I was homeschooled until 3rd grade, and then when they tested me when I went into 3rd grade, they found out I had an 8th grade reading level. So I could burn through a thick novel in a day like it was nothing.
Wow.
And I had never been to a library until I went to public school, and I was like, yay, books, this is amazing. So like during my any free time I had, whether it was recess or later on study hall and even during lunch, I would go and I'd hang out in the library and read. But I also used reading as a way to escape abuse, bullying, and a lot of other stuff that was going on at home and school.
Okay.
And so I've read literally thousands and thousands of books.
Okay.
And that's probably a loose estimate because I read so much.
All right.
But in the process of that, I really developed a love for story, especially fantasy and science fiction.
Okay.
You know, fantastical ways to address the human condition, things like that. So.
And any favorite authors?
Oh, yes. Well, when I was a kid, C.S. Lewis, J.R.R. Tolkien, Brian Jakes, his Redwall series where all the characters are animals and it's like a medieval-esque type setting, and loved those. A lot of the books, most of the books that I read, even Louis L'Amour's westerns and things, I love his Chick Beaudry series. They're awesome. I love Chick Beaudry. He's like the Chuck Norris of westerns.
Okay.
Just there's that, the good versus evil, and that delineation between, okay, this is what evil is, this is what good is, and, good doesn't cross the line, and that kind of thing.
Right.
But as a child of the 80s and 90s, grew up with a lot of the cartoons and shows and movies and things of that time, which also really emphasized that that aspect of it. So.
Okay. And at some point along your reading journey, when did you get the spark to want to start writing your own stories?
It really started, it was a writing project in my 4th grade.
Oh, okay.
My 4th grade class. Oh, yeah. Well, when I was a kid up in Wisconsin, they had this thing where you had to have writing samples. And so like every year or whatever, you're required by the state to have some kind of writing sample that would go in your permanent record and blah, 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 whatever. And so we had different writing projects and things. And that really kind of started it. And then, but it was in 4th grade that I started my first novel. And so my reading teacher even allowed me to read some of it, what I had written so far, in front of the whole class. And she gushed about it. I was like, this is really cool, and was really encouraging and stuff. But it wasn't until later on when I really threw myself into it. When I was in 7th grade, I was ready to give up on a lot of stuff, give up on life, give up on writing, give up on a lot of things. I was in a very bad place. But my 7th grade English teacher, Miss Sapaitis, pulled me aside, encouraged me in my writing, and that really gave me the boost that I needed, that, hey, I am valuable, that I do have gifts and talents, the world needs what I'm doing. Awesome. And so now here I am, a 7th grade English teacher, basically getting to do the same sort of thing. So it's cool. Kind of carrying that legacy on.
Well, you've come full circle.
Yep.
Very cool. So you started in 4th grade. When did you seriously want to start becoming a publishable writer?
That was more in high school.
Okay.
And high school was when I really threw myself into it, like really hardcore.
Okay.
And started writing books. Looking back on those old manuscripts, it's like, wow, this is one of the most painful things I've ever written in my life. But I've come a long way, as you said. I've come a long way in my craft and art and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But really in high school, like, you know what? I really would like to see my name on a book in a library, in a bookstore, and things like that.
Right. Okay. And did you take any creative writing courses in your post-secondary education, or?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Your
major was English, right?
My bachelor's degree is in ancient Middle East history with a minor in creative fiction writing. And then my master's degree is in English and creative fiction.
Okay.
So yes, I've taken a lot of courses. I've attended writers' conferences, listened to podcasts, things like that. And so I've had a chance to learn some things reading books about writing. I'm part of a critique group. I have been now for about 6-7 years. And my writing mentor actually also is my publisher, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. So so she actually has walked through this process for the Becoming Fire and Lightning series and other things that I've worked on.
Okay. And so you've been part of writing groups. When did you get your first piece of work published? And was it one of your novels, or do you write short fiction, or?
I do write some short fiction. Actually, the first thing I ever got published was during my undergrad. There was in the 2-year extension of the University of Wisconsin system that I was attending, UW Marshfield, they had a literary journal, and I had a couple short pieces that were published in that. Okay. That was the first thing that I had ever really gotten published. And then it wasn't until much, much later on that I had some devotions were published into a devotional. So I have there's a couple devotionals that I was a collaborator with. And then now this is my first official novel that's been published.
Okay, very cool. So this is your first fiction novel, and what is this considered? What YA or?
Yeah, it's YA, YA fantasy.
YA fantasy.
So like age 12 on up.
Okay, very cool. And so interestingly, you've decided to have 2 main protagonists. And how do you handle them in your book, Tales of Aras? Do you alternate chapters, or do you stick with the viewpoint of one character? Like, how do you handle that?
I stick with the viewpoint. I flip flop. So every other chapter is the other character.
Right.
I had first come along with that. My wife and I were listening through a trilogy, and because we listen to a lot of audiobooks and stuff while we're doing other things, and so I saw the author did that. I'm like, because they had 2 main protagonists. I'm like, that's actually a really good idea. So instead of having both of them together and flip-flopping in the chapters, I have those alternating perspectives.
Yep.
And there's even some things where events happen, and then when the other protagonist comes in, they're viewing the same events, but it's from their point of view in that follow-up chapter. So it's like two different perspectives of what's going on and that kind of thing.
Okay, so it's like that Rashomon movie with the different, or the Andersonville Trial movie, even with different viewpoints of the same event, which is pretty cool. Now, when we're describing this book, you had a lot of stuff in it, so I'm wondering where you drew from all of that, and like how did you how much world building did you have to do before you started writing your novel, or like what is your writing process? Did you have to build the world first, or you just started with the characters, or like how do you go about that?
That's a very good question. The answer is yes. So what happened was back in about 2004, 2005 or so, one of my younger brothers was getting married, because I'm the oldest of 6 kids. And so I'm the oldest. The youngest, my youngest sister, Ruth, is 9 years different than me. 9 years difference. And so she was turning 17 a few months later after the wedding and whatever. And so I was like, you know what? And she's very imaginative. She loves a lot of fantasy and a lot of imaginative stuff like I do. And we had a really close relationship at the time. And so I wanted to write a short story for her that as a birthday present. Nice. I just had a notebook and a pencil on the plane, and I just started writing. And so it started with the characters. I knew I wanted to have one of the main characters, a brother, be a scholar. Because what I found, especially in fantasy science fiction stuff, hardly any of the main characters are scholars. Most books, it's the reluctant hero who's just kind of run down out of his luck, and or is the warrior or whatever. But to have someone who's like more academically, that kind of thing, I haven't found a lot that were like that. Maybe just I missed them and they're out there somewhere. Yeah. And so I was like,
I'm thinking of that one series or book, the big one, with Tom Hanks played the character in the movie. Always had escaping me. It has to do with the background or some mystery about Jesus. Oh, God, I cannot believe I can.
Oh, you mean Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code?
Da Vinci Code, yes, Da Vinci Code. Yeah. There's a scholar. Yeah.
And so I started with, and I knew I wanted the two main characters to rescue someone who was being sacrificed to a dragon idol. I knew that, and I knew that they needed to stop a portal. Close a portal that was going to unleash this horde of evil beings and monsters in this world. But I got kind of into it, and then I just hit a wall. And in my graduate studies for English, for writing, I had to write short stories. And so I wrote a short story about this tiger warrior in this world of Aras named Ragnar. And as I was going and I was working on this, the world started to grow. And so I ended up with 7 races, and each race having their own unique cultures and traditions and things like that. Each of the races, I take the names from a different people group here on Earth. So like all of the Vidar, the cat warriors, they're all like Scandinavian type names. And then I have like my underground race, the Iktaka. Those are all like Aztec Nahuatl type names. My amphibian race, the Gwenferai, they're all Welsh Gaelic names, and so on. The dragons are Greek, and my Dross reptiloid race, they're all French names, and so on. Wow. And so, and I always make sure that the meaning of the name fits the character.
Right.
And so, and it grew until I ended up with a timeline that I've written out. It's actually in the back of the novel, of 80,000 years. So I have 4 ages, and then the events of the Fire and Lightning series are the beginning of the 5th age. And that's the age of restoration. And then within those ages, there's like battles and heroes and all these different kinds of things. And then I developed a glossary that had all the names that are in the given story, the given novel, whatever. And like, how do you pronounce the name, who they are, because not everyone is as nerdy as I am, and they look at these names like, okay, Hard Name talked to Hard Name and said, "Whoa, dude, what you doing?" And Hard Name, and so,
Pretty
all
hardcore
of that.
for a YA novel.
Well, yeah,
and are all 7 races in the first book, or they're going to be over the 3 books?
They are actually, they're all mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all of them, actually, all of them show up.
Okay.
All of them show up in some way, shape, or form. They all show up.
Mm.
I have 1 or 2 of the underground race that had actually separated from like a couple ages previous. They had actually separated from the surface races.
Okay.
But some of those guys also show up through a series of events and all of that kind of stuff. But what I found is, as I developed my my year, like they have hundreds of days to their year.
Mm-hmm.
They have a 32-hour day and 2 suns, and they're actually on a moon, Parasia, which surrounds a ringed gas giant that looks basically like one of our planets, but like purple and orange.
Okay.
And there was a couple other moons and things like that. But as I was developing all these things, a unique way of telling time and everything just grows, and it grows, and it grows, and it grows. And my wife and I recently went on a walk, and she has this YouTube playlist that she has, whenever she works out and whatever. And so I'm listening to the song, and all of a sudden I get this idea for the second book in the trilogy. And so I'm like, hey, this is what kind of came to mind. And she was like, did you write it down? Because I know later you're going to ask me, and I would be like, I have no clue what it is that you said. And so I wrote it down, and then as I did that, it started to expand. And it was like, how far into the rabbit hole do I want to go? And then I started doing mathematical equations for some different things, like the populations and percentages and different things, And I'm an English and history guy, so if I'm doing math, it's because I have to. But when I'm writing, it's like I actually want to.
Sure.
And so I had a project years ago in my early 20s where I sat for like 3 hours doing calculations. And afterward, I'm like, and that was during my period when I thought math hated me, I hated math, and that was never going to change,
Right.
But so all of this world building that I put in, all the years, all the depth and everything that I put into it, makes a world that is so enrapturing,
Right.
that it draws you into it,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't put it down.
Okay. Sounds like you had enough material there for like 7 books.
I have enough material to write for the rest of my lifetime into eternity.
Wow. Well, I think, who was it? Jim Butcher plotted out his whole Dresden Files series before he started it, and he's got up to 25 books he wants to write for that. So
Nice.
you might be in there. I'm curious. So with your brother-sister protagonists, and you're doing alternating chapters, are they on separate journeys? Like they don't really interact with one another, or are they together for most of the book?
They're together for most of the book simply because they're both heading in the same direction.
Okay.
Both are required to. So Amai is the Lord of Light and Life, and his sanctuary or temple is at the top of Keran, which is an extinct volcano that has become the capital of Aras.
Okay.
And so from his throne, there are 4 sacred rivers that flow in the 4 cardinal, and they have healing properties, and there are trees and stuff that grow that the fruit and the leaves, can heal and restore and reverse Barel's corruption and all the other different things that they can do.
Right.
But when Michael shows up in Aras, he said, you have 5 days starting today where you have to stand before me. And so there's all sorts of things that come that try and hinder that and drag that out. And so it's kind of like down to the wire. Okay, am I going to make it? Am I not going to make it? And, that kind of thing. But there reaches a point where they do separate.
Okay.
And Cassandra has lived for so long in her brother's shadow because he's 27 years old. He now has his PhD in ancient Jewish studies from the University of Tel Aviv. And he saved people during a terrorist attack, which scarred him. he was caught in a secondary explosion splashed with burning fuel. And so he's got these scars and stuff. But so he's got knife scars from some attacks that he had also experienced. But so it's basically like, here's this guy who's brilliant scholar, martial artist, all these other different kinds of things. He's, and she lives under his shadow. And so one of the main things with her journey is realizing, hey, I have my own life. I have my own calling, and being willing to see that, hey, I don't have to live up to the expectations of others, because they have a grandmother, their mother's mother, who was very wealthy, prominent French. She's their mother's originally from France. She was a gourmet chef, really famous gourmet chef, and she left.
Wow, you've really figured this out.
It's deep. I have all these different facets of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the grandmother is like, basically believes that because this scumbag American plumber stole her daughter from her good life, therefore she hates her grandchildren, and nothing they do matters, and she rips on them all the time. She's nicer to Cassandra because Cassandra looks a lot like her mom. And so again, there's all these different facets, because even like growing up myself, I grew up in a home that had a parent that was very perfectionistic. Nothing was good enough.
Right.
And there were favorites that were going on with another sibling, and some other different things, dynamics and stuff with all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so I'm very familiar with trying to live up to these expectations that will never be, and the damage that happens, as a result. And so all of these things get blended in to create this this journey for these two characters.
Do they have a good relationship between one another, or?
It's taxed. It's taxed.
Right.
Especially after he left to go to Israel to pursue his studies and everything. And she kind of had this view, hey, you're abandoning me, And so their relationship is very taxed. And that was one of Michael's original plans when he got back to the States was, hey, I'm going to work on rebuilding my relationship with my sister. And he gets sucked into this other world and all these crazy battles and, best played plans.
Do you find writing female characters hard? Or like which character did you find easier to write? Let me approach it from that angle.
Well, actually, I'll just go ahead and say Cassandra's character was really hard because I've never been a 17-year-old female girl.
Right.
So, and I never will be. And so that was really hard because when I first started writing her, she was really annoying. Like she was whiny and annoying, and it's like, no, that's not the way I want to. How do I do this? And so I had my writing mentor and those that I have as part of my critique groups that I'm a part of, and other feedback and things. Even asking my wife, how does this sound? Does this sound like a 17-year-old would view, or the way they would talk, or different things like that respond, and just the writing that relationship between the brother and sister, because I did not have the best life growing up. And so brother-sister relationships, well, just relationships in general in my family, not good.
Okay.
And so like I had to year into my 20s, my early to mid 20s, I had to go through a process of learning what a healthy sibling relationship even looked like,
right.
What a healthy family relationship looked like. And so it was really cool though, because God brought people into my life to really model that. So I had like men and women who were like fathers and mothers to me, and those who were brother and sister. And so I was able to really learn some of those things, and that helped a lot with this as well.
Okay. So given that those characters and all the backstory that you've built, how long did it take you to write your first book?
20 years.
20 years. Okay.
Yes. From start to finish to where it was published was about 21 years.
All right. And I know that you probably had long periods of just sort of like gestation where you were just thinking about it. When you got near the end of it, like, did you get it mostly written like in the last 2 years or something like that? Like once you really started to get a handle on everything?
Well, I finished the rough draft in 2017,
Okay.
in the beginning of 2017.
Mm.
And then from then to now, basically, to where now it's published, was revisions, editing, things of that sort.
Right.
In fact, there were a lot of times where I came that close, like even closer to just literally taking everything and deleting it and throwing it away. And but it was cool because I had some people come up alongside me and be like, no, don't do that. You've come too far to throw all this away. And I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. So you're planning this as a trilogy, and you're working on the second book right now, I assume?
Actually, I am working on a standalone, but that is going to fit between book one and book two.
Okay.
So I kind of pulled a page out of Marvel and what they did with the movies, where you have, here's your series, your book, your series movie, and then there's a standalone that's actually part of the Tales of Aras Origins series.
Okay.
And so the last two sentences of Becoming Fire and Lightning are the first two sentences of the book I'm hoping to release February of next year.
All right.
And so the Saga of Miklos is this next book, and it's the story of this hero that is referenced throughout the book. He shows up referenced throughout the book, and Michael really wants to meet this guy, but he disappeared, and no one knows what happened to him. Well, spoiler alert, he meets him at the end, and so I was like, okay, tell me your story. What in the world? Because Amai told Michael that there were some lessons he needed to learn from Miklos' story before he moves on with the next phase in his mission.
Okay.
And so he just starts telling. So the next book will be written in first-person point of view, because it's all him telling his adventures and stuff like that.
Okay, very good. And so you've got your first book is out now, and you're working on this prequel. After you get through this trilogy, are you planning to stay within this universe that you built? Like, it sounds like you got enough backstory that you could do dozens of different series about it. Like, or do you want to do a move into other genres, or like what are your future long-term plans?
That is a very good question. So on my computer, I have like at least 50 different folders of other book stories, ideas, things like that I've collected over the years.
Okay.
And I have stuff in other genres.
Okay.
I have a science fiction series that I would love to dive into, where the mascot is actually one of my dogs, modeled after my dog Tig.
Okay.
But I don't know. I really don't know what it's going to look like. We'll see.
Okay, very cool. I think that's everything I've got to ask you. Is there anything that hasn't come up that you would like to mention at this point?
I would say that if people are looking for the book, you can find it on Amazon. Amazon has it in Kindle, Audible, and paperback.
Okay. Well, you have Audible version too, eh? Wow.
Yeah, and it's really cheap. It's like $4 or $5, something like that. So it's not like really super expensive.
Okay.
But you can also find it on Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Thrift Books, Walmart, all those websites and things like that. If you want to check me out, there's my website, TerranceNiedzieLaJr.com. I'm also on Facebook by my name, Terrance Niedziela Jr. I also have a Tales of Aras page, and then Instagram at Terrance Niedziela Jr. So you can find stuff there.
Well, I wish you all the best with your future projects, and I want to thank you for taking the time out to do this interview with me.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you being willing to have me on.
Yes, it was great to meet you. All the best with your future projects. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, yep. Bye-bye.